Good morning, and welcome to the Closers Inner Circle podcast, where proven sales wisdom delivers real world results. I'm Denise Griffitts, and today I'm joined by my distinguished co host, very distinguished, Ben Gay III, and he's also my mentor, so I can poke fun at him. And today we're tackling a challenge that every successful closer faces: the psychology of the close, selling to every personality. And selling to different personalities isn't just a useful skill, it's a key advantage. Write that down. It's a key advantage for anyone committed to mastering the art of sales. We're going to explore what the best closers know about spotting subtle cues, building genuine trust, and adapting conversations, excuse me, to fit any prospect. It's early for my voice to go. Hmm. So get ready for practical stories, actionable advice, and insights forged from decades of experience, mostly Ben's. I've got some experience, but there's a reason why he's my mentor. So let's dive in and discover how to truly understand the people that you want to serve. And as you listen and follow along with us today, I really encourage you to keep the Closers books, part one and part two, in front of you. They're timeless resources that bring even more depth to the lessons that we're sharing. And you can find them with free shipping, and they're signed by Ben by going to Ronzoni Books, Ronzone Books on eBay. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning. How are you?
I can't talk. Isn't that like every male's like dream? Oh, she can't say anything. I'm going to do all.
Yeah, I thought of that. I wish,
I knew you did. I thought I'd just call you out on it early.
yeah, I've often dreamed of that, but so far, no luck.
No, no. I can always find a way to get my voice out there. It may sound raspy. I may cough on you, but if I've got it to say, by golly, I'm saying it.
Somehow, some way.
That's right.
I was telling you in the green room that uh, Gigi and me especially, I'm a news junkie, political junkie, and when Pat Bondi, is that her name, Pat?
Pam Bondi.
Yeah, Pam. Yeah,
General
yeah.
Pam Bondi.
The Attorney General was on being interviewed by some Senate panel. I told Gigi if I were a Democrat on the panel and the questioning time came to me, I'd say pass.
Yeah. I
Because,
watched that actually. She was after Blumenthal, who is known for stolen valor. He
right.
was not in Vietnam,
Yeah.
and she
Integrity.
nailed
You're
him.
talking to me about integrity.
Yeah. I almost ran over one of my cats trying to get back to the living room. I was like, whoa, whoa, say that again. Say that again. So, yeah, that was
Anyway, what reminded me of
good.
that was if you want to say something, you'll say something. Several people tried to cut her off yesterday, and after I got the pattern down, I said, "No, no, she's going to take your head off and hand it to you." And she did numerous times. So I've having been raised around a strong mother, a strong sister, several strong aunts and cousins, and so on, and then into business, the retail trade dominated by women, and then the cosmetics business dominated by women. I probably more than any male on earth understand the power of women, and even the ones who haven't shown any sign of being sharp tongued and quick witted. If you mess with them, it comes out.
Oh, he does. And it
They
comes
had
out real soft and real sweet. You don't know that your ears are bleeding until you're 5 miles down the road.
I was talking to a nice lady yesterday who was a local vendor of something. I forget what it was. Somebody who supplies us with something, propane. And in the midst of the conversation, she said something. I said, "I hear a little South in your mouth." And she said, "Well, my family's from Arkansas, and I visit there frequently." And I said, "I knew it. I'm from Atlanta, and I can hear Southern clearer than almost anything in the world." And she says, "Well, do you know what bless your heart means?" And I said, "Yeah, I do, but I don't think you do, or you wouldn't be saying it to me, a paying customer."
All right. Right. And,
So,
people will say it, they don't know what it means, and they don't know that there's a couple different versions.
yeah.
Well, for me, it's, "Oh, bless your heart." And if
Yeah.
I say, "Oh, bless your little heart," you're too
Oh,
stupid for me to even talk to you anymore. Don't bother me again.
how do you breathe without notes?
Yeah. Who tied your shoes for you this morning anyway? So, yeah, we don't tolerate a whole heck of a lot, and speaking of tolerating, I was telling you in the green room because I was telling you this morning, I started my day going, "You have got to be kidding me." Because as you know, I have a heck of a system for these podcasts, Your Partner in Success Radio, and then the closers on Wednesday. I do 3 of these a week. I have to have strong systems. And I've been trying to get this guy to say that he was going to be here on Friday, and I was telling you these go back since June, and he was always having an excuse. He couldn't make it. To this day, I don't know why I was so patient with him, but I was. And this morning I said, "Listen, I really need you to confirm. Can you confirm?" "Oh, I'm gonna be on a plane that day, blah, blah, blah." And I won't even tell you what had my hackles raised so high that the my hair was standing straight up on my head. And I said, "Okay," and I just quietly erased. I didn't bother to respond, but because what he sent me back, you know that old phrase, "When somebody tells you who they are, believe them."
Yeah.
Oh, I did. And I just quietly, you know, uh, I took his book, I got rid of it, I took it off of my podcast, I took it off of, Amazon. I just erased the guy. It's like, not a problem. And it was
Common courtesy
the
and
way he responded to me is what did it. Normally, I would have said, "Okay, I understand, good luck to you," but the way he responded told me everything I really should have already known about this guy. So now he can't reach me again, he will never come on my show. And I have already told other podcasters who might be thinking about him, he's on the no-fly zone.
well, listen, Pam Bonnie, it's been fun talking to you.
I learned from the best. So, but, this it doesn't happen often, but when you waste my time and then you can't come up with a valid, logical reason other than, "Oh, I'm just really busy and I've been invited to so many other podcasts." Dude, you've been on my radar since June, and all of a sudden I'm disposable? I don't think so.
He needs to take my daily success system class. If I commit to something, it's done. I
Right.
I was telling a good friend of mine who's a little loosey goosey about times. Uh, he told me the morning of a planned conversation, and I got plenty to do. I mean, the truth is, I don't care. To a degree, I was relieved; it freed me up to do something else. But he said he and his wife were off on a anniversary trip or something. So he tells me that morning that we're not going to keep that appointment. And so I wrote back and I said, noted, no problem, got plenty to do. However, you knew that you were going to be on this trip 10 days ago. So when and if you have to cancel something, tell me when you know, which was not this morning.
Right. Right.
So I don't know, but that's one of those things in selling and marketing to make yourself stand out. Other people, too many other people, are so rude, inconsiderate, uh, unorganized, etc. So that all you have to do is show up on time and do what you're going to do, what you said you were going to do, and you stand out like a superhero. One of the things with my strange personality, I can get away with it, but if any of our listeners are so inclined, when I get to a doctor's appointment, I'm always there 10 or 15 minutes early because frequently they'll take you 10 or 15 minutes early because something else happened in their life. And they're looking at the clock, 5 o'clock, they turn out the lights and they go home. So the more people they can move through the system, the better. But I always tell them, I say, "Hi, Ben Gay, 82242," because everybody they don't know you by name anymore. They do me because I have an unusual name, but it's birthdays. So until you say your birthday, they don't even look up from the computer. So Ben Gay, 82242, make a note in there that I was early. And so you get known for being early. I do the same thing at restaurants and so on. So if I have a reservation, I'm always early and I always point it out. So you get credit for it. But the point is building a reputation for doing what you said you were going to do when you said you were going to do it. And that makes you stand out from the current crowd. Our youngest son, Antonio, is a millennial. Is that yeah, millennial? He's 35. I think that makes him a millennial. And now he's running a pretty good size organization that works in hotels and fixes things for them and travels all over the country, primarily the West Coast. Well, guess who's now hiring Gen Zers to work for him? And he says, "You won't believe what they say."
Generational
And so,
issues.
yeah, I said, well, speaking
Yeah.
as the world's oldest baby boomer, literally since I was conceived on Pearl Harbor Day, um, the speaking as the world's oldest baby boomer, um, that's how we felt working with you and the generation or two. I don't remember every group being named until recently, but that's how we felt about you. And this is God coming back to pay you back.
Karma.
And after Gen Z gets out of the way and whatever the next group comes forward, they're going to be worse. Pray you're retired by then.
Exactly. And I wanted to go back to that book because you just reminded me, or that podcast, you just reminded me of something. I'm known on your partner in Success Radio as a book author podcaster. I
Hmm.
love to read. I've read your books. I've got hundreds of books in here. I actually need another bookcase, but there's no room and I'm not building a bigger house. So they're going to wind it up in a basket or something, but I've read every single one of them. What this guy didn't know or didn't care about, although he should have known it because I had read the book, reviewed it, posted it here, there, and yonder, talked about it. There is a lot of work that goes into producing and preparing for a podcast. And he just tossed that all out the airplane window. Good enough.
Tell our
Yeah.
listeners where that book is now.
You know, should I?
Yeah.
I've always told you I will not mark up a book. I won't. My childhood librarian would rear up out of her grave and hit me with a ruler or whatever happened to be in her hand and erase. I don't know. It's a small book, and frankly, it wasn't really a very good book, but it was a small book and it was easy to read. I was so incensed, I tore it up. I
And
tore the book to
folks, this is a
pieces.
lady who won't mark a book,
I won't, but that
won't
was
bend,
how. I mean, I was really angry.
won't turn a page corner down.
No,
They all look like they just came out of the bookstore. And she tore it up into little bitty pieces. So I hope we've deliberately not named him, and I don't know what his name
no,
is anyway, but
no.
I hope he's listening because there's a real lesson in here with customers and suppliers and podcasters in general, but then specifically podcasting with you and anyone you know. It's over. It's like the guy I told you who got out in front of the office and spit in the driveway and on the sidewalk. And I saw it, and he to this day doesn't know why we didn't do business because I happened to be glancing out the window when he did it. Uh,
Right, you told me that, and
yeah,
that's nasty. That is just nasty.
well, setting you up for a podcast 3 or 4 times and canceling all of them is nasty. I'll give you credit for your patience. You did it more times, you allowed it more times than I would. Once I would have given a stern warning Second time, I wouldn't give a stern warning because we would never talk again. We talked for the last time after the first one.
Yeah.
So as it turned out, so I'm 100% on your side, and it's a great sales lesson for our listeners. Do what you say you're going to do. Use my daily success system that Dr. Napoleon Hill taught me. You knew you were going to be on a plane going somewhere a week ago, probably 6 months ago. Uh, Most people like that aren't as busy as they claim to be. But you knew it a long time ago. And for this morning to say, I'm going to be on a plane, you're done. We are
Right.
done.
Right. And he didn't say, sorry, can I reschedule? Oh, I'm going to be on a plane. Well, good for you. But I went, I was going to, if I'd spoken with him, I would have Ellie made him to death. Well, you just have a nice day now here, but I will never speak with this guy again. But this is interesting, Ben, and I thought I'd share this with you. I read something somewhere, and I've read it a couple of times, but I think it was Buzzsprout where I read it that high value, well known podcasts are now booked through the middle of next year. And I'm booked all the way through March. I did a pre interview with somebody yesterday and he said, well, okay, so I'll see you in 6 months. I went, what? What? And I had to go look at my onboard calendar and go, oh my God, that is 6 months from now. I am booked, fully booked for 6 months. So even if I were kind and compassionate, which I'm not, by the way, and was going to offer him another chance, it would be 6 months from now. So the answer is no.
That would be a good thing for him to hear, but I encourage you not to talk to him anymore.
Oh no,
But
I won't.
but a good thing for him to hear would be, I'm really sorry. I looked at the calendar and people like you, I might have an opening in 5 years. Call call me then. Make a
Yeah.
note.
Yeah. Or what was that one politician's person, the redheaded circle back, circle back.
Oh, circle
It's
back.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
get what her
Circle
name was.
back.
The circle
Yeah.
back lady
Yeah.
who has her own television show now.
See, I didn't know that. I don't
Yeah, as
watch
I flip
TV.
through something, I don't know if it's her own or she is on it frequently, but as I flipped through the channels the other day, I thought, oh, I don't like her. Who is she? Oh, now I remember. Jen Psaki.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. I always thought she had the prettiest red hair, but other than that, I didn't listen to her because I would mentally hear circle back to that.
yeah, we'll circle back
Jeez.
as soon as I get somebody to read my notes to me.
Yeah, it was not a good look. But
So
anyway,
let's
thank you
get
for letting me rant because that really bothered me this morning. But I'm telling you right now, I'm sliding it into the book. It's going to be a cautionary tale. When people tell you who they are, believe them.
that's right. Even if they don't say it out loud, watch
Yeah.
them.
Don't give them a microphone.
Let's get into what we promised them about types of customers and how you deal with various people. It's the first most popular section in the closers part one. As you know, I'm prejudiced to page 257 in the closers part two, sales infiltration. But the customers have also voted, and in the closers part one, their favorite section is on customer types, personality types, and so on. It starts on page 35. And by the way, the closers part one was written, the original thing was written by somebody else. I got the rights to it and rewrote it. And then going through it, it's like somebody said, well, a lot of that sort of old old school. And I say, yeah, it's sort of like the Bible. Bible was the closers part one was written 35, 40 years ago. The Bible was written, what, 2,000 years ago in pieces and so on. So there are terminologies that have changed, but the concept is the same. In flipping through here moments ago, I cringed. It was talking about different ethnic groups, and it referred to the Orientals. And I thought, oh, I probably could have done better there. But at the time it was written, that's what the Oriental customer on page 47. And there are several others in here that have changed. But what it does, that chapter, page 35 on, What it does is it breaks down and makes people remember, oh, this person that I'm talking to is not the person I was talking to moments ago or on the last call or yesterday. This is a different person. The product or service doesn't change. The pricing doesn't change. Um, it, there's so much, and your basic presentation probably remains 80%. I'm just picking a number out of the air, 80% the same because you have tested and proven a way to effectively describe your product or service. Don't get away from that. But keep in mind that different people think different ways. Probably the easiest one to understand is a young person buys differently or justifies differently than an older person. Um, One of the things you have with an older person, and I'm thinking of me, is except for food and things that get used up, I'm a very bad customer because I already got everything. I mean, I'm not sitting here with a list of things I need that I don't have. If we need it, we have it. If we want it, that might go on the list if it's sort of well, if I have money to burn, maybe. But uh, so if you're talking to me versus somebody who's furnishing their first apartment, you're talking to two entirely different people. We were in the dollar store for some packaging supplies the other day, and we go up and down every aisle just because we do. That's sort of stupid, but we found the packaging on the first aisle and did 8 more aisles. And I picked up a couple of things along the way. But Gigi said, if I were a young person, I could furnish my apartment in this store. Maybe not the furniture, but the thing, the dishes and the cups and the forks and the flatware and so on. She said, I could do it all in this store. I, on the other hand, at my age and having lived a few places over the years, there's nothing in that store that I need that's not disposable. I think I picked up some dishwashing liquid and the packaging material we actually went there for. But I'm different. Uh, I'm a bad customer for a car salesman because I have a car salesperson. I call them vice presidents. I have a vice president in charge of cars, vice president in charge of real estate. These are long established relationships. And when they retire, as they sometimes do, they pass me off to the next person who they know that I will trust, and pay attention to. So I'm sort of locked in. And you say, well, yeah, but I sell a car you can't get anywhere else. There is no car I can't get somewhere else. None. So um, that makes the older customer, in most cases, entirely different than. And then you got to lay that on top of religion, perhaps, old occupation. Even if you're not currently an accountant, you still think like an accountant. And in that chapter, it breaks it down unbelievably. Segments in here I haven't thought about in a long time. Let me just read the headlines on a couple of them. Accountants, airline pilots, commercial artists, bankers, barbers, stylists, bartenders and club owners, residential and commercial builders. And that's 2 pages worth, and it goes on. Professional bus drivers, coaches, every one of them is slightly different than all the others, even though your sales presentation stays about 80% the same, even though you can't change the product or service, even though you're not going to change the pricing if you're smart. All my pricing is what I call pre-haggled. We don't have to go back and forth about pricing because I knew what you were going to ask for. I knew what I could sell it for. I split the difference back and forth. I already had that argument years before this conversation. And this is the price the pre-haggled price we settled on. I was talking with a emailing actually with a lady who's a big deal in the speaking business, and she was talking about when to cut your pricing. It was phrased more gracefully than that. And I normally don't jump into those things, but I was reading the threads and I said, the real answer to your question is never. I started out, the first paid speech I gave was $300. And that was because I saw Zig Ziglar get paid. And I didn't know you get paid for speaking. I did like 5 hours that day. He did a couple hours, if that, of jokes and zigisms and so on. And then I saw my sponsor in the business hand him an envelope. And I said to myself, that sort of looks like a payment. So as we were leaving the room, I caught up with Zig. And I said, Zig, we haven't talked in a little while. Let's go in here and get a cup of coffee. Went in a little coffee shop that was in the building. And I said, just to keep Bill Dempsey honest, what did he pay you? And he says, well, let's see. And I thought, I'm on to something. He did pay him. So I opened up an envelope. This was in 1965. And he said, $300. I said, oh, good. He said, what did he pay you? And I said, the same. He hadn't paid me anything.
Well, he was, though.
But but the next speech, and except for churches and prisons and charity type things I've done, a lot of those, I had just given my last free speech. And then Earl Nightingale went up to 1,500, which was a lot of money in those days. And I said, why'd you do that, Earl? Earl hated public speaking, hated it. He was a radio guy, wanted to sit in the booth, mind his own business, and read the script or just philosophize. And I said, why'd you change your price? He said, I'm trying to find a price at which no one will hire me. So I thought, well, that's good. I want him to hire me, but at least he's opened the door. He's now talking about $1,500 for a talk.
All
So I
right.
bumped mine up to 1,500. And then over the years, it's changed 3,500, this, that, and so on. And now it's 20,000. But I got there by credibility. I'm not the highest paid speaker by far. I don't choose to be. And if I got into some of the price realms, I wouldn't get hired because they're famous, really famous for something, having been the president or the vice president or the secretary of state or whatever. I saw a check written to Henry Kissinger one time that would make you uh, choke. I think I was at 3,500 and he got 500,000
Ow.
for the,
I
yeah,
guess he was
wow.
worth it, though.
And that was years ago. So anyway, my pricing on books and everything is pre-haggled. What's the best price you can give me on a bunch of books? I said, well, look in the back of your book. You got one, right? Yeah. Okay, what you'll see the quantity discounts at various prices. Yeah, but I'm talking about a lot of books. I said, so is the price chart back there. So just, we've already done this. Good news. I'm not going to ruin your day with haggling over book prices. It's been pre-haggled. And if you order 50, there's this price and so on. And the same with speeches. It's been pre-haggled. It's $20,000. Oh, the good news is I pay my own expenses out of that if it's domestic, airfare, hotel for the night, etc. But it's 20,000. She says, well, there must be times when you have to cut it. And I said, no, those are the times I hang up. It's pre-haggled. It is done. And so she said, well, I didn't win the argument, nor was I trying to, but when we hung up, she still believed you should haggle on every price that you give anybody for any reason, which comes back to honesty. What happens when you tell somebody the best price you can give is such and such, and they talk to somebody else,
And they will. They will.
and they
They will
will
head straight to the village green and tell everybody who will listen.
exactly. So anybody, I wouldn't announce my speaking price on this call if it wasn't fine for everybody. I mean, and by that I mean no one else is going to get a lower price or a higher price, and that works both ways. By the way, if you suddenly are talking to somebody who's got a big budget, uh, there might be that temptation on some people's part to say, well, they're used to paying 50,000, so I'll say 50,000. It's 20, whether you're rich, poor, or whatever. And the lady was saying, well, you know what you have to do, you have to consider their budget. And I said, no, I don't have to consider their budget. They may have to consider their budget. My budget is $20,000. That's it. No haggling, no discussion, no nothing. And as I said, I don't think I won the argument, but uh, it's still 20,000. And then it goes on in the book: physicians, plumbers, professors, retired. A lot of those around. Salespeople. It says salesmen. I would write salespeople if I was writing the book today. Social workers, truck drivers. There's a different. Let me give you just a little taste. Truck drivers are, or tend to be, aggressive, individualistic. Truck drivers can make a decision when asked. They're common sense thinkers who use logic in nearly all situations. They're personable and good humored. They need to be closed through logic, reason, and showmanship. The closer needs to show excitement coupled with with a plain old deal, good deal. The closer should ask for and listen to truck stories, build up egos by expressing respect for these customers' jobs. A lady used to work for us in the uh, distributorship business where we were recruiting distributors, was trying to recruit her brother, who was a fireman in San Francisco. And she said, I just can't close him for some reason. I said, why don't you get out the closers? Back then it was just the closers. There wasn't a part 1 or a part 10 or whatever. And but I said, get out the closers and go to the page that has the personality profiles. There she found firemen, and firemen and their egos, and they're saving lives and so on. The next time they got on the call, she said to him, I'm paraphrasing, you know, I'm remiss. You're my brother. We were raised together, but I don't really know much about your business, and you're a fireman, and that makes you a hero. Tell me about, let's not talk business. Tell me about a busy day at the firehouse in San Francisco. And he went on for almost an hour, as best I recall, talking about his exciting job. And when he got finished talking about his exciting job, he said, well, back to business. How do we get this thing started?
He just wanted to be heard
He
and
wanted to be
understood.
heard. He wanted his
Right.
sister to know that he was a big deal. He was a hero. He saved lives. He's the guy that runs to the danger instead of away from the danger. And that's all he wanted. He didn't know he wanted that. But once he got to unload all that good stuff on her, we were back to the original business at hand, which was, I think, a $10,000 investment. In today's money, it would be a $60,000, $70,000 investment, which he was willing to make in exchange for make me feel important.
And
Mary,
understand me. You
right.
need to understand who I am and what I bring to any table.
Mary Kay, I believe it was, I may be wrong, and she admits she got it from Dr. Norman Vincent Peale and Dale Carnegie. Both of them had preceded her with something along the lines of picture everyone you meet with a sign around their neck, make me feel important. Now, with an accountant, you may have to stretch that a little bit, although what they do is
Make
very
me,
important.
well, make me feel heard.
Right, yeah,
Because, I mean, when you're heading to your accountant, you already got a knot in your tummy. And you
correct.
just want to be able to explain why your cat is your vice president of whatever. And it's legitimate. So you need to understand where I'm coming from.
Absolutely. Another one in here, we were talking about heroes, airline pilots. Pilots in general, by the way, I've never met a pilot that didn't have a lot. We ran the county airport in Marin and owned the Cessna dealership there, fixed base operation. You walk into a hangar, there's a lot. It's like walking into a convention of professional speakers. There's a lot of ego in a hangar because they do something most people can't do or chose not to do or are afraid to do. And they got stories to tell. One of the more interesting people I ever talked to was Art Stagg. He was our corporate pilot for several years. He's the one who told me there are old pilots and there are bold pilots, but there are no old bold pilots.
I
And
bet.
yeah, and any crash you can crawl away, any landing you can crawl away from is a good one. Uh, he's also the one. I may have told you this, but because it was sort of startling, I'm the young president of Holiday Magic Cosmetics. He's an employee, the corporate pilot, and important to our business, but I'm the president. And so we're flying somewhere, and we were debating whether we could land Orlando, trying to land in a hailstorm. And I, trying to get his attention, put my hand on top of his hand, which was on the throttle, not
Oh,
to move it. I was just like, instead of tapping him on the shoulder. Looking back, that was stupid, but I wasn't up to anything. I was just trying to get his attention without having him look away from the windscreen. He
I have
jerked
to
his hand.
ask before you finish this. Did he
uh
bloody your nose?
No, because it wasn't close enough. But he jerked his hand back and hit me in the hand and wrist as hard as I've ever been hit. Even playing sports, I've never been hit that hard. And he said, I'll clean it up a little bit because he actually called me a name. But he said, let me explain something to you. You're the president on the ground. I'm the president in the air. Don't ever touch me again. And
There
that
you
was
have it.
preceded by something that sounded like son of a, I'm not sure, not sure
Biscuit.
what
It
that
was a
was.
biscuit. You're in the South. It means son of
Yeah.
a biscuit.
He's gone now, but I'll guarantee you he told that story hundreds of times. I'm flying along with this young hotshot who thinks he's the king of the world, and he touched me in the middle of a dangerous situation. And here's what I did to him. I know he told that story hundreds of
Well,
times,
of
and
course
I
he
have, and
did.
I was the victim in the story. So
I wouldn't call you the victim. I would start. I have another word, but you can figure it out.
so anyway, folks, when you're dealing with people, among the most important things you have to remember is they're different from anybody else I've talked to, if only slightly because of the unique personalities we have, or in a larger chunk by what they do. There's even a section in here on welders. And in glancing at it while we were talking, I go, yeah, that's different than plumbers, which is also in here. Or in the hero category, policemen are in here. So understand, because if you take a well tested, well honed, planned out sales presentation, notice I'm trying to avoid saying script, but that's what they are, scripts, and then fine tune it to, I'm talking to an older Jewish guy who was a doctor. Just dial that in and be aware of it and pay attention to it. Make them feel important, because getting to old age is an achievement in and of itself. As Art Linkletter said, growing old ain't for sissies. Being a doctor is something to be admired. And being Jewish, especially now more so than when we wrote the book, being Jewish has its own challenges. And there are things that you should perhaps acknowledge about that, if only to apologize for some of the stupidity currently in our society. It'll pass, but in the meantime, it's a reality for them. And you can dial all that in. And if you make a 5 or 6% adjustment in your presentation and your approach to people, you'll find something along the lines of a doubling of sales, because
But
they
you
will
have to listen.
beg your
That's the
pardon.
most, you and I have talked about this. The
Yeah.
most important thing to do is actually listen. I take a lot of notes. I mean, I'm scribbling like a crazy person. I'm moving cats out of the way to do it, but I'm taking notes on every single conversation I have, whether it's just a phone conversation or it's a podcast. I'm taking notes because I'm not going to remember all of it. something you say maybe have me going, "Ooh, I need to go back to that." If I don't have those notes in front of me, it's gone, it's forgotten.
Absolutely. And it makes you focus in. You
Yes,
know,
it does.
you have to pay, and that's a lot of people. "Well, I'll remember that." And as Dr. Hill, you say, "No, you won't."
Right.
Write it down. And the house and office are filled with legal pads, the full size ones and the little yellow ones. Because this morning when I got up, the pad beside my bed, things I thought of, usually not out of a dead sleep, but lying there reading or watching television or whatever, or Gigi says something, it makes me, if it's a good idea, write it down. This morning when I got up, I had two, usually it's just a line or two, enough to remind me of something. But I had two full pages of notes from the time I went to bed till I got up this morning. Two full pages. And most of them, I can now prove, since I don't have those pages in front of me where I'm sitting, I started to say I probably wouldn't remember most of them uh, if if I hadn't written them down. I can't tell you right now what was on the list.
Exactly, and this is why I take bathtub crayons in the shower with me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
scribble all over my bathroom walls, not the walls, but the shower, because that's where I get my best ideas, my God winks, that's like, "Okay, I'm here, I'm relaxed, talk to me." And off they come. I mean, I get downloads like crazy, but I have to write them down.
The It is so crucial. Listen, don't trust your memory, write it down, then take action. Now, not everything I write on a memo pad makes it to the final completion. Sometimes it sounds like a much better idea at 8 o'clock last night than it did this morning. But at least I had it in front of me where I could make that decision. Here's sort of a sad one. I've been worried about a friend of mine, Richard Burns, who I've known for 35 years or so on. And I said to Gigi, I haven't heard from Richard. He's one of those guys, he's so good about checking in. I don't have to worry about checking with him. I have several friends like that who are big on, hey, what's up? And so I count on them to do that. And I said, I haven't heard from Richard Burns in a while. And Gigi said, write it down and call him. And so I called him this morning, the number I've had for years. Yeah, they sold their house and everything, got in an RV and have been traveling around the country, he and his wife, Carol. Uh, and so I dialed the number. This number has been disconnected and there is no new number. That's not good news.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and he's my age roughly. Uh, I have phone numbers I've had for 50 years. I don't disconnect phone numbers because somebody I know that I want to talk to has it written down. That's the only number they know. So I have a couple of toll-free numbers that I haven't used or promoted in years. The 800-824-7888 was used to open the National Communications Center in 1976. So that's what, 25, 35, 40, that's 50 years ago. I haven't advertised it probably in 30 years. If you dial it now, if I weren't talking to you on this call, I'd answer it. So, and Dick Burns is of that ilk. That's the way he thinks. And that number has been disconnected and there's no new number. I thought, oh no, 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 I hope I'm wrong, but I have a feeling he's disabled or has gone on to a better life. And
Yeah.
that's my fault for not calling him 6 months ago or whatever when it first crossed my mind. Oh, I have
That's when
another
you check
note.
and I have to on that same topic, you and I had talked about our mutual friend, Lisa Mannion. She wrote this wonderful book called Spiritual Sugar, and I remember telling you, well, a month or so ago that I had found out that she was in hospice. She passed away. She
You talking
passed
about
away.
Lisa Mannion?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
passed away on the 24th of September. And I
The
was texting her, I knew how to text her, and she wasn't able to respond, but at one point, and I would just say, "Hey, how are you doing? I'm thinking of you." Ben Gay says, and I told her, "You said hello." And that one got a heart. She was able to send me a heart,
Hmm.
but she's
Well,
gone.
I never met her in person, but she's one
Okay.
of those people who I considered a good friend. We've communicated over the years, did a little project together. I forget what it was, but something to do with writing. She was an excellent writer
She was.
and marketeer. And so I knew about her, but it was through casual conversation because she's sort of on the list of she'll call me. And then when I heard her name, she was in hospice. So I was able to get off a few emails to her, just to tell her she was in my prayers and so on. But there's a good example. Had it not been for a random mention by somebody, I wouldn't have known she was gone until you confirmed it officially about a month ago.
Yeah, well, she just passed. So I guess she was in hospice for a while, but she and I would have conversations where we always threatened to do some kind of work together, and we never did. And I regret that.
She was the last business communication I had with her. She wanted to know if I would take her on, and I don't know her condition at the time. She'd had cancer before, but thought it was beaten. She wanted to know if I would take on a friend as a coaching client. Sometimes some coaches won't do that because the personality, the personal relationship gets in the way. It's hard to tell somebody they're a stupid SOB if they're coming to your house for Thanksgiving.
No, I can do it.
I know you can.
No, I say it real soft and real sweet, but I can do it.
But anyway, I said, of course, to her and was sort of under the impression she was going to become a coaching client. And then when she didn't follow up, I don't chase coaching clients around. I'll send you the information and it's up to you. I'll never mention it again because I hate reaching out to people in one way or another. And then you get an instant replies and then 15 follow ups and so on. So I just don't do that. You want to know how the coaching program works? Here's how it works via email. Have a great day. And so she got one of those and I didn't hear back, but I didn't really expect to. And then in hospice and then dead. And I just hope Richard Burns doesn't fall into that category, but I have a really bad feeling about it. And I'm looking at a list of notes now. Another thing that we got questions about as a result of some conversation we had not too long ago. And part of it was, remember when the lottery or the whatever it was got up to over $1 billion, spelled with a B, and everybody, most of our listeners started thinking about what would I do if I won that? And some people started shopping for cars just in case.
I would not. I would go radio silent. Nobody would know
Yeah.
ever.
I've made Gigi promise that if we win, because she buys what few tickets we buy, I said, now, if we won, you would tell me, wouldn't you?
I've
And,
never bought a ticket. So I can't win because I've never bought one.
yeah. There's that story of the Christian Southern Baptist praying to God he wins the lottery, and it happens and he doesn't win, and it happens and he doesn't win, and happens. And finally, a voice out of the cloud said, work with me, buy a ticket.
See, that's, I just, to me, it's like, it's gambling and I don't gamble. Yeah, I just, I've got some common sense. But yeah, remember I told you I was taking notes and I'm scribbling notes and I wanted to be sure to tell you about Lisa, but you mentioned the Dollar Tree. I love the Dollar Tree. It's one of the few places that I'll physically go to only because they don't deliver. But, you know, my friend Maggie and I will, okay, let's go to the Dollar Tree. Let's go have lunch. And we just map out a whole day and we're here, there, and yonder. We go get fresh fruits at the vegetable stand and then we go to the Dollar Tree because I can buy mackerel there. My cats love mackerel. And, if I want to buy it at the store, it's $3. Over there, it's $1.25. I buy everything they've got. But I remember, and I came across this picture not too long ago. And I came as I drive a Range Rover. They're big carts, they're heavy duty carts. Don't get in my way. I'll run over you. And I see this little bitty, I guess they call them smart cars, and it was snugged up next to my tailpipe practically. It was sitting right next to my car. And I remember stopping my little buggy and going, I wonder if I could fit that in the cargo area. I probably could. It was the most ridiculous picture I've ever taken. This little tiny car in the deep south where we drive pickup trucks. We drive SUVs. We don't drive things that'll tip over in a high wind. I don't know where it came from, but it still cracks me up.
Uh, the other note that I had made since we've been talking, we got a lot of questions, and I started to say about the lotto or whatever you call the big one. What would I do with it? And most of them were sort of sincere. I'd like to give a lot of it away. How do I do that? And so on. And it dawned on me that although I thought what would be different other than don't talk to anybody about it if we won $1 billion. Um, Among the things was my charity plan, our charity plan is already mapped out. Now that granted there would be
Right.
some new things, but here's the
Set up
advice.
foundations or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some things that like I love pets. I would help the pet shelter. I don't even know where it is. I've never been to
Oh,
it.
I can send you my PayPal.
But
Hamilton and Silas will thank you.
that would be among the things that I would add to it. But what we is like everything I do, have a plan. We already give to Tunnel to Towers. We already give to St. Jude. We all the children's cancer people. We already give to Samaritan Purse, Billy Graham's son, Franklin Graham's
And Gary
charity.
Sinise.
Beg your pardon?
Gary
Except
Sinise.
we don't, but he'd be one I'd add to the list. But my
Yeah.
point is, I don't have to wonder where it would go. There's already 8 or 10 places that it's going, and some of them started out with the $11 a month thing because I wanted to see how they treated you. One I won't name promised a free T-shirt. They all do that, or a hat, or a blanket, or something. Free T-shirt if we signed up. And I said, well, I don't need a T-shirt, but that's pretty good, and the charity was good, and so on. So we signed up for that. Minimum amount. No T-shirt. Then no T-shirt. Then no T-shirt. Finally, I sent them a little email, and I said, we're giving to you because of the work you're doing. But as a sales and marketing guy, if you promise me a T-shirt if I join and then don't give it to me, uh, that makes me wonder about a whole lot of other things about you. So they wrote back. There may have been another exchange or two, but they wrote back and said, we're very sorry. We'll send you a T-shirt. And in their story, they didn't ask if I was, because it's email, they didn't ask if I was a male or female. They didn't ask what my size was. And the T-shirt that finally showed up, if Gigi and I ever have a baby, it's got its first piece of clothing. It's in my dresser. So there's one that we haven't stopped giving, but I won't give them any more. They wouldn't be on the list of let's add a few zeros to the thing. But my point is, if that's of some interest to you, get started now. $11 here, 11 and 19 maybe, and so on. And then as you start doing a little better, you can add. They'll take more. That's not a limit. That's a opening thing. It probably costs them more than $11 to collect the $11 every month, but it's a starting point. And then they start asking you about giving more and so on. But if you have the plan in place, for those of you who asked that question, there must have been 10 of them. When you do better, give them more. Maybe you
Right.
have a percentage in your mind. And if you win the big one, add some zeros to it. If it's one you really like, it might go from $11 to $1,100 a month or $11,000 a month. But you've got the plan in place, and everyone you pick out Google them and get their charity rating. Tunnel to Towers is on my mind because they're on television every few minutes. There's always a television off to my left here in the office, and I see Tunnel to Towers, probably more than any other one. So I wanted to know about them. Well, it turns out they even talk about in their ad, well, I think it's 95% of all their money goes directly to the people you're trying to help. And the rest, you got to pay for your phone and your rent and so on. That's perfectly understandable. Most charities are considered good if 60% of the money goes where it's supposed to go. And then I found one, again, who will remain nameless, that we still give to, but I give with less enthusiasm because their endowment, for lack of a better word, their backlog, money on hand, is 50 billion with a B, $50 billion. I'm not sure they need my $29 or 290 or whatever it is currently. I'm not sure they need that with, perhaps you could give to other charities. So
Right.
I sort of penalizing them for their success. I'm happy for them. They do great work. But you got $50 billion. Perhaps there's other people I can help, but have the plan in place. And here's the real thing. Number one, you're doing good. If you've picked out a good charity and you're helping them, you're excited about them. Tunnel to Towers has gone way beyond just the victims of 9/11. They're now getting 20,000, I think it is, homeless veterans off the street and into these complexes they've bought where they go live there until they're back on their feet and up and running again. And so they're doing marvelous work, and 95% of their money goes to where it's supposed to be going. It's
And
just,
their story is incredible. Their history
yeah,
is just amazing.
yeah. And and now, they used to have to chase celebrities around to endorse them. Now celebrities' agents are calling them, let me endorse you, because they want not only to do good, they want the FaceTime. And then I started to get to point two about giving to charity, and I know we're running short on time, is the feeling it gives you when some natural disaster happens and Samaritans' purses, trucks pull up and their airplanes loaded with food pull up. There's something to be said for thinking, Gigi and I have some skin in this game.
Mm.
We help pay for that truck. We're helping to
Right.
feed those people, et cetera. So it gives you a warm and fuzzy feeling. We used to be the largest uh, single donator to the children's Christian Children's Fund. 35,000 of our distributors each sponsored a child, and they ran into rough times and have changed their name and their mission and so on. So we're no longer involved. But the feeling that we got for years with the Christian Children's Fund, a little face would pop up, I'm hungry, and was sort of the message. And I'm thinking, we may be paying for that kid. That may be the young lady we're writing to in Africa. And they had a wonderful follow-up program where you were linked up emotionally and by name with the individuals, with individuals. So, like everything I talk about, have a system, have a plan in place. Then all you got to do is add zeros as you go along. And with that,
Yeah.
we're 2 minutes from the end. Tell them how they can get in touch with you and about your wonderful coaching and so on in the podcast business.
Well, and I'm doing what you told me to do. Oh, I know, gasp, I'm doing it. You told me you advised me to do something, and by golly, I'm doing it. But tell people about your mentoring program, and then I'll kind of chime in with mine.
Okay. I do for people what Dr. Napoleon Hill and so many other mentors, many of my mentors didn't know and don't know they're my mentors because it's listening during casual conversation. But my official mentor that we were paying $50,000 a year to, that's a $500,000 a year in today's money, was Dr. Napoleon Hill. And what he did for me, I was 25 years old and doing better than I probably should have been. He was 84. He brought wisdom and balance and patience and the importance of taking action, etc., to me. And I now do for other people what he did for me for a lot less money. And so if you're interested in that, just shoot me an email at BFG3. That's B as in Ben, F as in Frank, G as in gay, the numeral 3 at directcon, DIRECTCON. That's short for Direct Connect .net, BFG3 at directcon.net, and just put in the subject line coaching. And if you do that, I will not harass you or chase you around, but I will send you an email back that explains exactly how the program works, what it costs, what it takes to qualify, and a registration form. And then the ball's in your court. No aggravating follow-up calls, no aggravating anything. If you don't respond, that'll be the end of the conversation. But I've been able to do a lot of, thanks to Dr. Hill and my other mentors, I've been able to do a lot of good for a lot of people. Hope to hear from you.
And just as Ben offers his legendary sales mentorship program due to his advice, and it was very much needed advice. I'm not going to use the word nagging, but I will say advice because we have talked about it and I just hadn't done it for I'm always busy. And that was always, I'm busy, I'm busy. That's no longer an excuse. I don't accept it as an excuse. But I'll be opening up a podcast mentoring program of my own. And it's not a course or a class. I'm simply doing like Ben does. I'm making myself available for your questions and offering advice drawn from my almost 18 years behind the mic. So whether you're unsure how to get started or you're struggling with guest management or you just need a sounding board or just advice that maybe your team can't really solve for you, I'll be here to help you and navigate the podcasting journey with confidence and clarity. And I'm easy to reach. I mean, you can reach me on LinkedIn. You can reach me at mail, MAIL, at yourofficeontheweb.com. That's my website business, mail at yourofficeontheweb.com. You can also call me toll free, 888-719-6711. And Ben, what are we going to talk about next week?
Whatever you tell me to talk about.
Okay. See,
This isn't my first rodeo, young lady.
so I love a man who does what he's told. Well, listen, everybody, thank you for being with us. Go get the books, The Closers Part 1 and Part 2. And Ben, I have to tell you, I reached out and I grabbed this book, and I have both, The Closers 1 and 2. I don't even like to pick up 2 because it flies apart. It's in such poor condition. I've just used and abused it. This one, I have barely opened it. So we need to do a little bit more work from Part 1, I think.
Happy to do it. It's the kicks, the blocks, and the punches of selling the way it really is, not the way we wish it was. It's a little rough around the edges. I ain't going to change it.
You don't need to change it. Listen, I've been reading a lot of, Napoleon Hill, obviously, and I like to read Wallace Wattles. I like to read people who did what they did a long time ago. And I don't even notice the language. I'm reading what they said. I'm reading what they meant. I'm reading it in my own terms. I don't worry about things like that.
Well, I'm with you. Every time I open Closers Part 1, I cringe a little bit because it's rough. And by rough, I mean right in your face. Boom, this is the way it is, like it or not. The Closers Part 2 shows that over the years I've mellowed a little bit,
Uh-huh.
but not much. And I might point out the Closers Part 1 still is the number one selling uh, sales book, I think, in the world. It certainly is in the United States, and our number one by far. We sold 10.5 million of them when we quit counting 30 years ago.
See, that's amazing. I mean, but it's an important book, and we haven't ignored it, but we've concentrated largely on Part 2. So let's go to the nuts and the bolts. Let's get busy over there. Well, listen, everybody, thank you for joining us. We're here every Wednesday, and it's me and it's Ben, and we talk about, as you can tell, all kinds of things. We don't have a script. We just talk about whatever's in our heads, for better or worse. What can I say? But anyway, we have a good time. And from what we're hearing from you, the audience, you're enjoying it as well. So send us questions. Let us know what you need to know from us, or what you would like for us to talk about. We're here. We'll do it. Ben, thank you. Tell Gigi hi, and I'll see you next Wednesday.
All right. Love you, dude.
Love you too. Dudette. I'm Dudette.
Do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.